Distinguished delegates, panelists, guests, and participants from across the global family of science and technology clusters, a very warm welcome to this important discussion on technologies empowering livelihoods. I'm Dr. Akanksha Chaudhary, faculty in charge JCKIF under the Office of PSA to the Government of India. As an economics professor at IIT Jodhpur, working on livelihoods, it is my privilege to set the tone for today's session. At JCKIF, we work at the intersection of science, society, and sustainable development. And one of our significant initiatives has been Kala Anubhav, a digital platform that brings the power of technology directly to the hands of the rural artisans. Through Kala Anubhav, more than 400 artisans now showcase our 1,000 handcrafted products across 12 unique craft categories ranging from block printing, bone and horn, coir jute, applique, leather, dari, tie and dye, meenakari, and many more. Technology has enabled these artisans to connect directly with customers across the world, helping them gain year-round visibility, recognition, and sustained income through adaptation of AR, VR, XR technologies. You must have also got a chance to visit our digital museum through the AR/VR setup outside. Our work also ensures artisans can safeguard their creativity through design registrations and geographical indication protection, including the registered tie and dye craft of Jodhpur and our ongoing efforts to secure recognition for the Sindhi Sarangi, Rajasthan's soulful musical heritage. You must have also enjoyed the soulful music right outside from our wonderful Sindhi Sarangi artisans during your lunch. So in many ways, Kala Anubhav captures the spirit of today's discussion, where tradition meets technology to preserve past, empower our present, and inspire the creators of tomorrow. So today we are honored to host a truly global and interdisciplinary panel. Each participant represents a nation that has consistently demonstrated leadership using science, technology, and innovation for inclusive development. From Israel, we have Ms. Sharon Madel Artzy from Circular Economy Israel. From Denmark, we have Dr. Shannon Olsson, Eco Network. From Italy, we have Professor Anna Barbara from Polydesign. From Germany, we have Dr. Johannes Barth, BASF. From Japan, we have Mr. Masafumi Senda, NEDO. From South Africa, we have Mr. Sedula Mashudubele Mamabolo, Councillor, South African High Commission. From the African Union, we have Mr. Brando Okolo, NEPAD. And to steer this rich discussion, we have an eminent moderator with us, Professor Shri Prakash Tiwari, expert in sustainable and flexible electronics. He's also the PI at JCKIF, IIT Jodhpur. Around the world, millions of livelihoods are being reshaped by technology, from precision agriculture and climate smart innovations to digital skilling, community cooperatives, and smart manufacturing. But our expertise, where in Jodhpur or in other parts of the world, are represented here, and we are here to tell us something crucial, which is about technology empowering livelihoods. And we are not here to just listen to their success story, but we are also here to understand the challenges they've gone through and the finer details of their journey within the socio-economic context. This is why our purpose today is both simple and profound: to learn from each other's successful models, to understand what worked at the ground level, and to identify practices that our nations can adapt, replicate, and strengthen. This dialogue is not just about innovations. It is also about the policies, financing systems, partnerships, and institutional mechanisms that ensure technologies translate into real improvements in income, resilience, and opportunity for farmers, artisans, youth, workers, and communities. Now, with that, I warmly invite Professor Shri Prakash Tiwari to lead this important conversation with our distinguished panel. Professor Tiwari, please join us on the stage. We look forward to not only their success stories, but also the challenges they face, the turning points that shape their journeys, and the lessons that guide cross-border learning in how technologies can truly empower livelihood. So now let us begin this dialogue of collective learning and collaboration. Over to Professor Tiwari. I'll also request all the panelists for this session to please come and occupy their places on the dais. All right, so Professor Tiwari, I'll leave the dais for you now. Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure after lunch it will be a bit sleepy, but after this roller coaster ride of discussions happening across various domains, and most of them are focused towards a livelihood eventually, along with technology development and societal causes. So let me first welcome all the esteemed panelists to be here in the last panel discussion. And as topic tells, if you talk about science, it is eventually connected to the livelihood. And I'll probably start with, not wasting any time, I'll start with Ms. Artzy from Circular Economy Israel to talk about something which relates to India. Essentially, if you see, there have been efforts from Israel which could be very useful to Indian context. So maybe if you could put some light on that aspect.
Yes, thank you. So we'll switch. That was circular economy. First of all, thank you for having me today. It's really an honor to be in the first conference and the international conference of the clusters, the SNT. And I'm honored to be here, and I'm proud to be the Israeli representative for circular economy. And actually thinking about India, what I thought I could talk about is actually how Israel's circular revolution can help global livelihood or Indian livelihood. Well, you know, Israel is really famous for its high-tech. This is what we always are asked about, innovation nation, high-tech. And it is real. Yes, just yesterday, a very big company, leading company, high-tech in Israel, called Tower Semiconductors. So you can know what it does also. It's a very strong corporate, and it's pushed our stock market even higher. So yes, everyone is looking up, and I can say everybody's looking up to AI, up to the cloud. We all use. And I also use it, and Israel is actually first in also adopting new technologies as AI. But as I've been advising for the last years, some of our national projects of data centers, actually building the data centers built in Israel, big ones with international cooperation from companies like AWS, etc. So believe me, the cloud is not floating. It's sitting in warehouses full of real physical computers, and I, a simple person, see them mainly as a stock of gold and other critical materials. So every machine learning that is well talked about lately needs a machine. That machine needs more than 60 different metals. Now this is what I want to talk about. Coming down from the cloud, let's get our boots or high heels on the ground and see what treasure we can pick up. So, as I was introduced, my name is Sharon Madel Artzy. I'm the founder of the Israeli Circular Economy Platform and also of TAMI, Israel's e-waste management body. I believe that the real opportunity for livelihood isn't in the clouds. It is in what we waste. Circular economy is not just about recycling or environment. It's about people. My message for today is that circular economy transition is about turning someone who earns $1 a day into a technician who earns $500 a day or a month. It's about dignity. It's about the future. And it's happening now in Israel, and we would love to scale it in India. Going back to what I learned standing in data centers, watching them install $50 million in new servers, I asked, what happens to the old ones? They said, and old in servers, it's 2 years, okay? So we can also talk about the speed that we need to do things now. So they said, we didn't get to think about it yet. That's when it hit me. We have a great opportunity to develop a sector, workers, new jobs. It is the same on panel solars. Where and how are they will be treated? So we're just now in Israel building 3 plants. All of them are meant to treat the used lithium batteries. All of us, or a lot of us, have EV cars. What about the lithium batteries? The government message to us is, please help us with the regulation, because actually reality and business sector and technology is moving very fast, much faster than regulations. And we already have, for example, in Israel, thousands of used lithium batteries that need to be treated safely. And it's not only if you think about the cycle of life, like each battery in a car will be used for 7 years. We also thought that. And then, after 1 year, we have a recall on specific importer of lithium batteries, specific cars, which we had 1,000 lithium batteries that we needed to treat in 1 day. What do you do about that? And this is Israel. We are really small. Think about India. So this is the exciting, for me, this is the exciting new circular economy being realized as we speak. And it's not about only on environment or safety or even sustainable resource policy. It is a huge social opportunity and in large scale and massive social impact. The numbers are staggering. Circular economy can create 95 million jobs globally. India alone, 1.5 million waste pickers earning less than $100 a month. Think about the scale up and the opportunity. If we think about or talk about Europe, only 12% materials recycled, despite all the technology, all the circular economy transition plan. There's a gap, and in the gap, there is the opportunity. If you talk about the global opportunity, we're talking about $4.5 trillion by 2030. So yet we treat waste as a problem, not as an employment engine it could be. I suggest we cooperate to change that. Of course, it's a systemic change that requires connecting all stakeholders, and this is what we do in the Israeli Circular Economy Platform. Just short ending, how do we do it? We connect research, innovation, policy and regulation, business and community. We have the regulatory framework. You already also have in India, producers pay, creating the immediate funding. Yesterday, there was a lot of talk about funding, but with the regulations and policies at place, the producer pays. Business models, e-waste is hundreds of jobs. Jobs is economy, okay? Social impact. We have in Israel more than 150 people with disabilities now working in recycling, e-waste recycling. We can talk about Israel's water miracle. This is also was mentioned yesterday. In a warming world, resilience is not built in isolation. It is built through cooperation, shared solution, and a belief that every drop has value. This was said yesterday, and also was written by our ambassador in Africa talking about water scarcity. If we replace drop with the words ton of waste, that's our message for India. Israel learned from scarcity. We have little natural resources, so we made wastewater our resource. We turned necessity into innovation. And I think India does not have to be Silicon Valley. It could be Circular Valley. Your waste pickers are not a problem. There are 1.5 million entrepreneurs waiting for tools. Your trash isn't burden, it's your gold mine. So let's stop looking only up at the clouds. This is my message.
Thank you so much. In fact, it was really comprehensive. And if I connect to what we are discussing right now, so whatever you spoke about data centers, if you say livelihood and eventually reaching to villages and remote places, real-time monitoring of health and other things are very important. Certainly data center and related activities will be very useful. Certainly Israel has been the front runner in many of the technologies. You talk about electronics, tower semiconductors and so on. So certainly very comprehensive, and we are actually hopeful to see, to take these collaborations in future. So thank you so much. Second one from Denmark, Dr. Olsson from Eco Network. Certainly if you talk about Denmark, you have been front runners of technology, if you see. So there is no denial that you have been using technology very well. But if I ask you specifically your work for livelihood, not only for Denmark, but in Global South, if you can put some light on those aspects which we could learn from.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just want to say thank you very much to the Jodhpur cluster for organizing this really important session, and also especially to Dr. Vishal for inviting me to this conference. Yes, so I founded a network. It was actually initiated here in India by the principal scientific advisor, the previous one, K.V. Jayaraghavan, and it is an international network. And we have two hubs. We have one hub here in Delhi, and we also have a hub in Denmark. So that's the Danish connection. And the purpose of our network is very similar to everybody in this room. It's actually to spread science and technology knowledge out into society and into communities. And so while we don't particularly work in rural livelihoods, you actually said this in your introduction, if you want to spread knowledge of science and technology widely, you have to benefit people's livelihoods if they're going to adopt it. It has to be seen as beneficial to them. And so the way that our network works is actually that we start directly in those communities themselves. So you've heard a lot about circularity the past couple of days, so I'm going to give you a new word, knowledge circularity, okay? This is the thing that we do in our network. So we have 2,600 members, and we have 46 countries represented in our network. And we have an enormous number of academics and CEOs from companies and NGOs and all sorts of people, doctors and artists represented. And what we believe is that the first knowledge the information has to come from communities themselves. So we work through our CSOs, our NGOs, and we also have students that we train in science communication who go out in their own communities and gather stories from their community members. And this is all different types of people, shopkeepers, farmers, waste pickers, ASHA workers, all sorts of people, on what they need to be sustainable, have sustainable livelihoods. What is it that concerns them? Because we all have to remember that I'm a scientist also, but what I think that the public needs, and it may not be what they think they need, and it may not be what they want. So you always have to temper any innovation you have with what the community will accept and adopt quickly. So that's why we start, and that's where the knowledge circularity starts, is we start by gathering those stories. We have gathered over 180,000 stories to date, and we've brought them together, and then we have brought in 650 experts to work with us on specific aspects of those stories. So, for example, the community tells us they're concerned about waste. Obviously, that's a big one. We just heard about that in the previous session today. They might say they're concerned about getting good price points for their agricultural products. They might be concerned about their nutrition in their families. And so each of those issues, we then have experts that we bring in from academia, from NGOs, from businesses, and say, okay, what do we know? What innovations already exist out there? What innovations do we need that can maybe, because there might be a need out there for which we don't have an innovation yet. And then we actually go through the educational system, not only here in India, but in Denmark, and actually in other countries. We've worked with students from 18 countries, and they actually do on-ground research coupled with science in laboratories as well, where they actually try to address these needs and whatever the holes in the innovation process are, whether it's access, whether it's product development, or whether it's something else like a value chain issue or a logistics issue. And then, of course, the ultimate thing is, that's the circularity, is that we have to go back to those communities and work with them and see, okay, is this what you want? Is this what you like? Is this working for you? And co-develop our innovations with communities. It's an incredibly complex process, but it works really, really well. And I just want to say that, we're in a livelihoods meeting, and I think we often think of livelihoods as income. But actually the word livelihood is meeting the necessities of life, right? And we think about, what do you need for life? Yes, maybe we think about money, but if you really ask people, most of them don't say money. They say, they want good food, they want clean air, they want clean water, they want to have their kids go to college, or, and they want to have a, good environment around them. These are the things people care about. So when you address livelihood issues, you can't really just address income. You actually have to uplift the entire community's livelihoods. So that's where our innovations really come in, because they try to not only address maybe the issue at hand, like waste management, but actually try to tackle multiple aspects of that problem. So one thing we've heard a lot about through several panels is agricultural residue. That's a big topic in India, and there's a lot of products being developed, but a lot of those products are very low value. They don't actually gather a lot of income, and the process of getting the residue from the field all the way to that product can be extremely expensive. So it's very difficult to get agricultural residue into a viable product that you can scale. So we've coupled it to things like improving nutrition. So, for example, making nutraceuticals and smart proteins, which are incredibly high-value products that we also can market back into that community for supplements to their own nutrition. So they're actually making things that help themselves, and that's a huge motivator because they actually see the benefit at hand. And these can be done in decentralized ways. They don't necessarily need massive production facilities or labs. And just to I conclude, I'm sorry if I'm talking so long, but the other thing I wanted to add is that because we really try to focus not on just simple technologies, but really fascinating, high-tech, cutting-edge technologies, because what our communities have also told us, especially in rural areas in India, is that their children are leaving. They're moving away from the rural areas because they have no opportunities there, and they go to the cities like Delhi and like Bangalore because they can find jobs and more opportunities there. But if we create these really high-tech, interesting, where they need training, they need high-tech training, it brings education to these areas, it brings knowledge to these areas, it brings innovation to these areas, and it really can increase the whole community from that process. So this is the concept of knowledge circularity, and I hope you all adopt it in whatever organization that you work in. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Olsson. Certainly I must congratulate you for the work you explained. Certainly very exciting. And I'm sure these activities will kind of progress further for the larger humanity, you could say. The next one we have Professor Barbara from Poly Design Italy. And when you talk about Italy, certainly comes like Japan again. So history of thousands of years, you talk about art, craft, artisans, food and farming. So my question would be more towards what are the steps taken in Italy to digitize some of these things, and then if you could explain something in that direction.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, there was a big improvement after 2016 because of a special national plan for digital transformation. And this helped a lot. Everyone, from the scale of the entrepreneurs to the education to the public administration, so making the bureaucracy little bit easier. But what is very important through digitalization is that this is not only in Italy, that it happened for the first time in life that the kids, they are more expert than the parents. So this is impacting very much on the way we work, and we work in the companies. Italy, as India, has a lot of small and medium enterprises, and most of them are based on family business. And this is like that from the beginning. And so through digitalization especially, and through design, they emancipated from the craftsman to the design and another way of creating, but not only focus on the shape of the product itself, but on service design, community engagement, infrastructure, strategies, and this is very, very important, is the way we work on. Another particular aspects of the Italian design, and that helps the small and medium companies, is related to the fact that we are not so vertical as other markets. So design goes and cross many different manufacturers and many different expertise. Now, if you think about Giugiaro was a designer of a macaroni, pasta, and also a designer of a car. But this is because our design education, it's a technical, scientific education, but it's also humanistic education. So we always work between technology, science, and communities. And another important point that through digitalization is becoming quite interesting is to work on the concept of authenticity. Now, the blockchain and all this system where you can track the product. And this will be very important also for India, because on the authenticity you build your reputation. And the Italian reputation was based on the family, because family means trust long the time. And this is something that we have to think and to consider as a value, as an important value. Another aspect related to the success of the Italian small companies and how they are working even in the new digitalized era is the working on the storytelling. And storytelling is very important, because if you are not able to communicate the value of the innovation you are doing, and sometimes it's not a technological innovation, it's a meaning innovation. Sometimes just you moving one technology from one field to another, you make technologies. And this is quite important too. And last but not least, the investment that we are making is about lifelong learning. Because it's true that most of us, we educate when we were like young, until 23, 25, 27 years old, or making the PhD. But what we need actually, and especially because of the digital transition, is to upskill and reskill professionals already in the markets. And this is a strong investment that countries as India should make, because we are not digital native, and sometimes we don't know how to use prototyping machines. And so investing in lifelong learning and thinking that every one of us should, in the next 3 years, educate a little bit more, and upskilling the expertise will become very crucial, and is exactly what we are now investing in Italy, and especially in the design field.
Thank you so much, Professor Barbara. And what you right now told and suggested us, certainly it is very much important for India to preserve not only traditional knowledge, but I would say even the culture about making food. One of the cities I visited, this Bolzano Bajan, where they had this food technology lab, and they were actually studying different kind of cheese and all those things. So skilling is very important, and knowing our roots and then taking it further, very much. Thank you. So next one is expert from Germany, Dr. Barth from BASF. So certainly a multinational company. When you talk about multinational companies, so I would rate Germany as something which is leader in various aspects, not only one aspect. And multinational companies have been coming from there. When you talk about these companies, if at the outset you think they will not worry about remote places, poor people, and some societies which are left out, but then in recent times there have been efforts to somehow connect to those people and help those communities. So can you maybe describe a bit about those efforts, specifically from BASF?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for including me and including us in this nice event. Let me start introducing a little bit the background of myself and also where our company comes from. So myself, Johannes Barth, I'm in charge of heading innovations for BASF in India, located in our campus building in Mumbai. And BASF is a 110,000 employee corporate. We are running more than 250 production sites for chemicals throughout the world. We are the biggest chemical company, and our products, they go into all different industry everywhere. So from basic chemicals, feeding the chemical industry, from surface technologies, every second car in the world has this one coating layer from BASF. We have catalysts making chemical plants faster and more efficient, in terms of energy, in terms of yield, and many others. So what is behind all this? And in this year, BASF just turned 160 years old. We started 160 years ago, is our lifeblood innovation. Innovation is our DNA, and innovation is the reason why we keep being actual and keep being up to date. So it all started in the year of the foundation with indigo, with the blue dye. And after the production of indigo, actually colors were available to everybody in the world at a good price. Before that, the blue color for textile was something for absolute elites, for royals. And now we can all have this, and we are not talking about the cost anymore. Then around 1900s, BASF invented a very important process for the world, and this is using nitrogen from the air and make it available to plants. The very famous Haber-Bosch process, which is the basis for industrial fertilizer. And only with this process, which is still used by a lot of people, it's possible actually to feed very soon 9 billion people in the world. Then making a little bit of a jump in the 1960s, there was the development of petrochemical industry, which is the basis for entire polymers in our daily life, and also makes a lot of solutions and our all life very easy and affordable. Then in the 1980s, development of new molecules, for example, performing molecules, UV absorber, for example. Ingredients for agrochemicals, making plants grow and resistance against pests, etc. And then in the 2000s, new materials, for example, producing lightweight cars. replacing metal and replacing other heavy material, and again, lifting up the quality of daily life of those goods and reducing the cost, making it affordable to everybody. And since last 10 years roughly, there's another big trend in our innovation, which is sustainability. This is the biggest trend, looking at the same performance, same industry, but adding sustainable attributes such as lower CO2 emissions. And I would like to highlight also a few examples out of this trend, starting with very nice to see for me also, BASF announced roughly half a year ago that we are investing in a pilot plant for methane pyrolysis, making hydrogen, which is a basic raw material for chemical industry, but also for energy industry, with lower emission, potentially also by this technology with zero or even negative CO2 emissions, and at the same time has the potential for a competitive price. So again, following the same logic, make it affordable to everybody, because then the market is able to absorb, and then it really kicks off. Another example, our product Built to Last, a bitumen modifier for construction industry, adding performance into asphalt, making it last 50% longer in lifetime, especially under extreme conditions, and also reducing emissions for the workers applying those to the roads. Third example, we have more and more polymers also fully recycled. For example, we launched one polymer called Lupamid. This is a nylon product together with our customer Inditex from Spain, and we have a fully recycled jacket out of this product, comes from recycled polymers. For supporting the recycling of polymers, it's very important that we detect different kinds of polymers, different grades. And for this, we also launched a technology. It's kind of a lab in the pocket from our company Trinamics, also available and used here in India to feed on the basic level in the sorting technology, and then again creating valuable products out of it. Last example, we are also solving and working on one bottleneck of the recycling of plastic waste, which is the technology called pyrolysis. With pyrolysis, you can turn plastic waste again into crude oil, into naphtha, and naphtha is the basic raw materials which has to go into the beginning of the value chain for chemical industry, and our product, the catalyst again, PureCycle, is bringing this pyrolysis naphtha to the same quality as we are getting it from a conventional oil and gas industry. Now coming back to your question, where we are supporting also rural areas. We are supporting one project here also in India, in Kerala, exactly for collecting and recycling polyurethane. Polyurethane is one of our key products used for shoe soles. And we are supporting the society there and having a project for collecting the waste, recycling it, and bringing it into valuable products again, directly impacting jobs there, additional jobs created, but also a lot of engagement with the society there, thinking about what can we do out of this value, so turning waste into value again. And just one example to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barth. Certainly, if I see it in the outset, this session is actually highly interrelated to the last session where we were talking about electronic waste, and PET recycling has been one of the key challenges, and you as company BASF, I see big role in solving not only PET, but then there are other plastics and alternate polymers you are talking about, certainly, so great work you have been doing. I'll come to and due to scarcity of time, probably I'll just rush through. So the next one, expert is from Japan, Mr. Senda. Japan, if you see, there are two, you can say, aspects. One is aging population, which is still tech savvy, and then there are young kids. You talk about farmers and villagers who are technology savvy, who are helped by the technology. So if I summarize, Japan is a tech savvy country. So can you give some examples how technology is helping rural population? And next part is how technology are taking care of things which are taking care of needs of youth as well as aging population of Japan.
Thank you very much for inviting us. Before answering the question, I would like to briefly introduce me and our organization. So, my name is Senda. I'm a country head of NEDO. NEDO stands for New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization. So, we are R&D funding agency in Japan and assisting Japanese company and research institutes in terms of technological field. We cover those for industrial use, focusing on green transformation and digital transformation. And our New Delhi office mission is to support dissemination of Japanese technologies in India, as well as facilitating collaboration between Japanese and Indian stakeholders. And now I would like to touch upon Japan's experience. So thinking about what could be NEDO's R&D agenda, although our main activities are to launch a national level R&D project and develop next generation technologies, but at the same time, when formulating projects, we also encourage the participation of local research institutes and companies. In addition, when identifying research and development topics, we give due consideration to addressing issues faced by local communities and issues associated with changes in social or economic structure, such as you kindly pointed out, declining birth rate and an aging population. And this year, I would like to touch upon our efforts to incorporating local stakeholders' interests. So we are under METI. METI means Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry in Japan. And METI has a regional bureau in each Japanese region. And in collaboration with METI's regional bureau, NEDO have set up regional desks in order to introduce our support program to local companies and research institutions. We expect by setting up regional desks that local stakeholders will become physically accessible and easier to consult with. And in addition to this, and I would like also touch upon how to address aging population issues by utilizing technology. So as maybe as an Italian colleague pointed out, there are in Japan also there are many small and medium-sized companies. And that possess these companies possess advanced manufacturing technologies, and they have also good artisans. And while NEDO supports development of AI technologies and the creation of use cases, one of our support program covers transfer of manufacturing skill to young workers from senior workers, in order to addressing the aging of skilled workers. And also we have other support programs that covers innovation of manufacturing process and the creation of new manufacturing know-how by using AI. So we are, this is an example, we are dealing with aging population. So thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Mr. Senda. So what I could also see Japan leading in, you talk about for not only aging population, but for everybody more like energy autonomous systems which are done by smart manufacturing techniques, 3D printing, and so on. So certainly we have a lot to learn, and we have a lot in common to certainly collaborate. Thank you so much. Next one we have from South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Mamabolo. And South Africa, when we think it's more like whatever problems we have, South Africa have had those problems. So we have mostly common issues to deal with. We have population, large population to feed. On the other hand, we have rich, but then we have poor also. So certainly these are the kind of challenges which we share, common challenges. And probably I'll not ask any question to you. Maybe I'll just want to listen your opinion on how these two countries should work together to do something meaningful for elderly, poor, artisans, or people living in villages.
Thank you very much indeed. And first and foremost, I must express my sincere appreciation to India for inviting us into this platform. India is a very important, as you know, member of BRICS and, of course, G20. But before I answer your question, I think I should put things in context, because we often hear that Africa is a continent that has not contributed anything to science and technology. So, our scientific, as a country, endeavors touches on many areas like medical innovation, astronomy, mining techniques, technology, and engineering. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you examples. I'm sure many of you know that we are the founding member of Antarctica Treaty around the 1950s. And we have, as the only African country that has a permanent, stay there. And you know that the treaty is very important. It facilitates researches such as marine biology, climate change, and all that. In the medical field, I'm sure many of you know that the CT scanner that we use today, the mathematical theory behind that was discovered in South Africa. The first human heart transplant in the world was discovered in Africa by Dr. Barnett in the 1960s already. More recently, we had another interesting discovery, middle ear transplant by Dr. Mashudubele of the University of Pretoria using the 3D technology. First in the world. And of course, because we are a human-centered government, inspired by the African tradition of Ubuntu, our scientific discovery is human-centered. We just recently, because we are transplanters, by the way, recently we transplanted a penis in the Cape after the botched, circumcision. So those are the things that we're able to do. In the space of astronomy, I'm sure many of you know what is called square kilometer array. We are co-hosting that particular facility with Australia. The world gave us that opportunity to host it, to co-host. And indeed, you know that the contribution of that facility in terms of, contributing to, data science, research. In mining, because we're a mining country, we have discovered technologies of deep level mining that now we are actually sharing with your country. India is coming to learn from that because you don't have a space to do open cast mining. You have to go deep. So coming back to your question, there is a potential in the global south if we can collaborate. With India leading now, there's a lot we can do together.
Thank you so
Indeed,
much.
we have poverty, you have a poverty. Science can actually contribute a lot in terms of alleviation of our poverty through creation of opportunities in business and all that. While we commercialize these ideas that our epistemic communities are coming up with. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. As you rightly highlighted, the contributions of South Africa, how important these contributions are. And being a human-centric, again, development, taking that approach has been strength of South Africa and certainly India. So these collaborations will certainly lead to newer things if you talk about potential these countries have. So thank you so much for being here and putting this important point. So now we have our last expert from African Union, Mr. Brando Okolo from Nepal. So from Nepal's perspective, probably I would ask, how do you kind of try to touch upon livelihood of, again, the communities where typically we don't go, the left out, poor, women, and so on. So what are your take on that?
Well, first of all, I would like to give perspective on how the African Union functions. So we have the African Union and the operating organs within the African Union. Unlike the European Union, we do not make laws, we do not come up with rules for our member states. We develop strategies at the African Union Commission level. Those strategies are then sent down to the organs, for instance, to AUD and NEPED, which I represent today, to develop an implementation plan and operationalize that plan. So part of what we do is the resource mobilization to be able to operationalize that plan. We take the strategy to the member states and try to convince them to align their national priorities based on those strategies. Now, what we know also is that the member states who come up with the policies, their national policies, most of those policies do not touch on the rural communities in Africa. I'll give you an example. When you look at Africa's techno-economic pyramid, at the very bottom of that pyramid, we find welders, dressmakers, carpenters, electricians, basically the artisans. This group make up, in some of the African countries, up to 90% of those working in the manufacturing sector. So if you remove them from that pyramid, Africa will collapse. So part of what we do as an agency is to engage at the grassroots level, both in terms of agricultural practitioners, health workers, those working in the ICT sector, those involved in climate and environmental programs, and of course those involved in the energy programs. You probably know that part of our energy strategy is on trying to get solar energy to people in the grassroots level. We've seen within our continent a completely new growth of new economies driven by solar. An economy where we're not just having technicians who assemble these components used in the solar energy sector, but also design and use local content, local raw materials to produce components used in the solar sector. We've seen new businesses come up from that, where solar-powered refrigeration systems, solar-powered mobile hospitals are set up in our rural areas. And most of these initiatives are driven by the continental body. So in essence, this is what we've done so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So all these efforts, certainly I would say, if I talk about African Union, as it was also said earlier, marine technology, then minerals, and also energy if you talk about. So there are multiple areas. It's enormous potential to discuss and collaborate. So thank you so much. Probably I would kind of make it more informal. I'll not ask any questions. And seeing the time schedule, may I also open it to audience for direct questions to any one of you, if your permission is there. So we can have some questions, and it could be more interactive. So if any one of you has any specific question from any of the experts, you are most welcome. You can be brief, precise, and probably something which could be answered in 2-3 minutes. Okay, so my first question again from certainly expert from Israel, Ms. Artzy. You spoke about semiconductors, and you said that India doesn't need to actually talk about or think about foundries. So can you elaborate on that aspect a bit? So can India do design and probably do a bit on material and still can be self-sustainable if you talk about strategic sectors? So how can you help in those areas unless we have foundries, or any opinions on that aspect?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I can tell you from the Israeli experience and also what we see in India, what we learned a little bit. So at the end of the day, if you look about this industry, okay, so it's a lot about resources. So what we do is look on the resource map, and then you understand a lot of things about geopolitics and a lot of things. But when you think about yourself, your own country, talking about, let's say, India has, I think, 6.4 or 6.8% of critical resources that we all need. For example, we in Israel need that, USA need that, everybody needs that, because technology today is also basic human needs, because if we don't have technology, we don't have clean water or electricity, etc., or food. So you look at the resources, and then there comes the layer of efficiency. How do you use your resources in a most efficient way? So, of course, there's the traditional industry from the Industrial Revolution. This is what we all know. But now we see the 4.0 revolution and the 5.0 revolution. So everything is advancing. And what we see in Israel, that there is a trend, okay, for innovative trend. We try to collect the Israeli circular economy innovation ecosystem. And then we see what are they working on. And I can tell you that they are working a lot on making the industry more resource efficient. This is something that we see not only innovative startups working on that, but also, and this is very interesting, we see the funds, like private business funds, funding startups that then can be implemented in a very well-established traditional industries, starting from mining resources and others. So this is one trend that we see, and I think this is very interesting for India to look into it. And then if you put another layer of policy and regulation, then you can see how you can do, I think the Italian representative talked about the eco-design. Eco-design directive is really, so you do the eco-design and then you put the business models that if one company, instead of, for example, selling, they can do a business model of renting. And then you keep your resources yours. And this is something that is good for the business and also for a state. But if I may, I wanted to point something also. We are talking a lot about human, and I want to talk about women in circular economy, in rural places, and I wanted to give an example, if I may.
Yeah,
for
very important.
an innovative technology in Israel. And I will do like a comparison, because yesterday there was an example of bringing innovative solutions for waste, and then they explained why it didn't work, because it took the women's job of collecting some kind of waste. So I want to give a good example of a technology that was developed in Israel. It's a company called Home Biogas. It's a startup, but it already raised a lot of money from United States, and it's really advancing nicely. Getting back to women in rural places and livelihood, this company, what they do is they can help to make the organic waste into cooking gas. So what happens is that in a very simple way, and you don't have to invest in high tech, all right? So they're converting the organic waste into cooking gas, as I said. So we have in Israel, the desert part of Israel, we have a large community of Bedouin people, and then women who used to collect wood for cooking. Instead of that, now they manage community biogas systems. So the digital platform enables them also to manage the system, so they can also sell the surplus gas that they don't need for their home cooking to neighbors, and even sell also, not only the gas, the liquid fertilizers that is also created as a byproduct. So from like zero income for those women, now they can earn somewhere around $150 to $300 per month, and this is a real life transformation for them.
Thank you so much.
This is the example I wanted
So
to give.
I very much agree with what you said. There has to be we have to prioritize certain areas. So very much I agree with you. Thank you so much. So I am waiting for some questions, maybe a couple of questions from audience. Else I have to ask my questions to experts. I have many questions, but any curiosity which you have? Yes.
So my question is, I go back to my field for the Dr. Johannes Barth from Bath. So I don't know. Sorry again. I don't know if you were in the former panel in which we were discussing waste, and we were discussing circularity of plastics and polymers. And since you mentioned this, I would like to know how would you see the future of polymer field, since you are a company which has a big business on production of polymers, and how do you see that this is going to evolve? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this question, and it's an excellent question. I think a few important things to mention. I mean, polymers and plastics, they are inevitable and important components in our life, many different applications. I cannot mention all of them right now. At the same time, I mean, of course, they come with disadvantages. So we all agree they cannot end up in the nature, in the seas, in the rivers, etc. So we have to do something about it. There are so many different approaches to this challenge, and we mentioned a few: collecting, bringing it back to valuable products, also different techniques to do that, bringing them back to oil, and then starting the value chain again. There is one conclusion, I think, from the last 5, 6, or even 10 years. We have to, with all those approaches, we have to combine two things. And one is sustainability, with all those things I mentioned, and the second is also economically feasible. It needs to be affordable for everybody in the daily life. There are a lot of solutions already available with alternative feedstocks. I mean, we mentioned them also during your session. When they really want to kick off and also circularity, then it needs to be economically feasible. There's no hiding behind that. Currently, a lot of technologies available, they come with a certain extra cost. And this extra cost somehow needs to be digested also, and also, I mean, supports need to be given by several measures, by regulations, by certain other measures. But we need to be also fair there and incentivize and solve this all together with different bodies also in the society, and then it will fly off. Plus additional technology development.
Yeah, so I
yes.
have a question. This is to Ms. Artzy. You have very aptly mentioned about biogas to cooking, waste to cooking as frugal technology, so to say, and it's very helpful for the rural women and the livelihood. In India also we have some of these kind of measures, waste to wealth, different kind of waste to energy, different form of energies. The major challenge always in this case is the continuous availability of supply chain. To make anything commercially sustainable or even for perpetual uses, we need continuous supply of such waste. So how to scale this, that always has remained an issue. How do you handle this in Israel, or any best practices if you can suggest?
Thank you for the question. I can tell you about this specific startup, what they did. They do not give only this specific solution. They keep on their R&D. They're keeping on researching and doing innovation. And though they have this technology and they already have this breakthrough to know how to use their organic waste into gas, they keep on scaling up the solutions. So, for example, to be used also in buildings, and to be used also in like big, like you can think about hospitals or larger scale buildings. So it's not only in specific homes, because actually if you rely on these rural specific homes, so you will not be able to be a very big company unless you get some funding from the government, which in Israel and in other places not always available. So this is what they do. And in the end of the day, I think they will be aiming to even supply energy to the national grid. But it's a long way.
Thank you.
So it was a wonderful session. I must thank all of you. Asha, you want to maybe final remarks from?
Thank you. Actually, I had the same difficulty as BASF person said. So in order to accomplish a circular economy, business viability is very important. But talking about the waste to energy or like biogas, so these economic viability issues will also happen. And we are currently supporting a Japanese company which would like to produce biogas and in collaboration with Gaoshara. And their raw material is cow dung or agricultural residue. And I think I understand the Indian government already introduced biogas incentives. But in addition to biogas, incentivize producing biogas itself. So if you produce biogas and biogas residue also there, And if biogas residue can be converted into the organic fertilizer, then and if Indian farmers recognized the importance and the effectiveness of organic fertilizer, then it would enhance business viability. So I think I know Indian government are very keen to this type of policy. So I need to collaborate with Indian government in order to proceed this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Senda. Certainly, we have Mani Madam from Office of PSA, and we are kind of looking forward to excel these kind of collaboration. So thank you so much. And now over to Dr. Namrata Mishra.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tiwari, and to all the speakers on dais for bringing the positivity and forward-looking vision for the way ahead. A big round of applause to everybody. Yes. So if I have to summarize one fundamental message that this session has underscored is technology empowers livelihood only when it is accessible, contextual, scalable, and now circularity as highlighted on the stage. Our focus is not only nurturing technology for a privileged segment, but technology that reaches the last mile community for not only improving economics, livelihood, but very important is nurturing innovations that could solve day-to-day challenges, be it providing basic nutrition, healthcare, education, and that is when we call innovations, inclusive innovations in true sense. Another very strong narrative that has emerged is that we have realized is despite diverse geographies, livelihood challenges, I think it remains the same, whether it is Germany, Israel, Denmark, Africa, or India. But we should see challenges as opportunities to be inclusive in approach, opportunity to change the mindset, opportunity to develop technologies which are not only for the privileged few, but for the unserved many, because we always believe innovation is not complete until it reaches the end users where it matters the most. So we do not want to miss this opportunity for all of us coming together for a shared purpose. So therefore, I've tried to pen down a wish list, a scope of collaboration based on the discussion and the synergy that has come out. Going forward, I think each country may explore 1 to 2 livelihood projects with any of our 8 S&T clusters. Could be on crafts, agriculture, skilling, or micro-enterprise model. And of course, second is developing platforms for bilateral startup exchange and community engagement program. Third, very importantly, pointed is that we need to work together and share best practices and develop a skilled workflow who are the new change makers for the new India. With this positive hope for a stronger collaborative future, I thank all the distinguished speakers for their inspiring contributions. Now I request Dr. Parvinder Maini Madam, Scientific Secretary, Office of PSA, to kindly come on stage and felicitate our international delegates on dais. Request to ma'am, please. Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll start with felicitating Professor Anna Barbara from Italy. A big round of applause. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Mashudubele, Sedula Mashudubele from South Africa. Thank you for highlighting what Africa has done for this nation, for the global. Thank you so much. We have Dr. Brando from African Union. Thank you once again for coming so far and for a positive collaboration that you're bringing with India. Dr. Johannes from Germany. Dr. Shannon from Denmark. Thank you so much. Your perspective on livelihood has really brought a lot of insights. Thank you. A lot of takeaways. Mr. Senda from Japan. Thank you so much for your time and for your presence here. And finally, we have Ms. Sharon from Israel. Now I request all to step forward for a group photo. Let's capture this. And I request Jodhpur and Bhubaneswar cluster team members to come on dais. Colonel Khare, if you're here. Yes. Arpan, Dr. Mrityunjay. Please, yes, everybody, all the JCKIC and BCKIC team members, please come on dais. Let's have a group photo together. Thank you, everybody. We'll now break for tea. We'll again resume at 4:30. So you have 30 minutes of tea break and networking, and then we'll start with the validatory session. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.